have you seen the discourse around this podcast? I am endlessly amused. It's like a million clips about it have been posted. Really, really, really. You hate this discourse so much. It's a little funny. Context? Okay. How do I put this? How do I put this in a non-offensive way? Okay. It should be noted that, like, despite technically being myself queer in the sense that I self-identify as pansexual, um, we're talking about like a level of in-group communication that some people might chafe at me engaging with. I find it funny and I will persist nonetheless. I'm afraid that my desire to rubberneck here is greater than whatever like sense of obligation I have to leave the discourse be. He is persisting, it's true. So the narrative here is that, and again, this is the narrative. I have no idea how much reality aligns with the narrative. But the narrative is that there's a queer podcast made by and for queer people about queerness, but the hosts of the podcast are all insufferable they-fabs who chafe at the existence of actual binary trans people. I don't think that's fair, but that is the narrative. And it is funny. Isn't they fab a slur? I'm just repeating the discourse.
I do think that there is something to be said about
This is a trans
the
woman.
difference in experience between people who are medically transitioning though and those who aren't. Because it's like, and it's the reason why in polite conversation, I still call myself transgender, but I do actively use the term transsexual because it's more semantically accurate.
Interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before.
Okay, I actually didn't hear. I've never heard that before.
I've never heard anyone say that before so quickly. I don't. This is niche content here. Okay, this is niche content. It's just very funny. I feel like I feel bad for the people who run this podcast because I know they're getting like totally dogged on right now. But it's been like a discourse factory.
You may be feeling like this bi versus lesbian divide is especially heated lately, but I'm here to tell you that this is nothing new.
It's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Since
at least the 1970s, I will say, is when this like kind of sapphic divide started to happen. According to academic research in the Journal of Bisexuality, the political lesbian wars of the 1970s created the biphobic template that's still circulating in sapphic spaces to this day.
Oh no, the lesbians did it? Ooh, sorry y'all.
In the 70s, a significant faction of the lesbian feminist movement formally constructed the argument that bisexual women were collaborators with the patriarchy.
Because they date men?
They have sex with men.
That's just shit luck, isn't it?
So these arguments were not casual.
I don't know enough about queer history to know what's happening. I'm realizing it might be super irresponsible for me to cover this because a lot of people in chat don't know enough about what's being talked about to even know who's in the wrong here or why they're in the wrong. But it is funny.
Yeah, I think if you want to identify as a lesbian, but you fuck a guy a year, fuck it, make it 2. Like I don't. And you want to go
those numbers.
crazy?
Carmen's recruiting.
You're riding it, man. You want to ride it one?
Cashing that on relation. Oh my god.
It in, then by all means, you can still call yourself a lesbian. It's fine. I don't care.
It does not matter.
I just.
This is a conversation where I'm a super quiet guy going, yeah. I think it's I don't even want to like comment on the stuff they're putting out like on its own. To me, it's more like it would be. I'm trying to think of a comparison. It would be like if a podcast called like Black Times came out and it was all for black people by black people and everyone there was like almost imperceptibly light-skinned, and every once in a while a real fella would show up and sound like they were talking a completely different language. And it's not necessarily that the light-skinned black people aren't black, like they are. And it's not even that what they're saying is wrong necessarily. It's that the contrast between them and the people who occasionally dip in inevitably produces discourse. You know what I mean? Like it's just guaranteed people will get mad at it. And I feel a little bad for them. You know? I feel a little bad for them. What does they fab even mean? It's a slur. It's so the narrative that has emerged because of this is that there are two, well, it's like a half true narrative, but the true version of it doesn't have to be bad, right? The true version of it is that there is a difference between being transgender and transsexual, and there's nothing wrong with being either. And you can be one or both or the other, though I guess basically everyone who's transsexual is transgender. And they have different experiences, those two groups of people, or like overlapping, you know, generally speaking, the cissexual versus the transsexual people. And there's nothing wrong with any of this, but the discourse happens when they converge here, and the narrative that emerges is that the desires and incentives of non-transitioning trans people, like non-binary people who don't want to transition medically, these desires are so different. So here's a really, really common one, okay? And this is something trans women love to complain about, and I don't blame them. Trans women, you might have heard about this before, generally speaking, don't like being thought of as clocky. Like, trans women would not appreciate it. I'm giving you guys like hot tips here in case you're ever out at the club and you want like info on how to interact with people. Trans women don't like it if you go up and you say, I can tell you're not a cis woman. Not a great opener. Really, it's not. It's not a great opener. You're striking out, like, you're batting 0 out of 1,000 on that one. Pretty much. But there are lots of AFAB non-binary people who are like, I wish I could look more androgynous. I wish I could look more clocky. Like, I've heard this from a lot of AFAB non-binary people, right? They're like, you know, David Bowie. They're all, I wish I could like convey androgyny beyond just my clothing and aesthetics, but like in a more, you know, fundamental way, right? But I'm not going to transition. Like, they're not going to take testosterone over it. They're not going to transition over it, but they still want that. And this is such a big difference in how you want to be perceived and how you want people to talk to and about you, that it invariably causes discourse, you know? Like 100% of the time. It's a thing. And this is like the current nexus of that discourse. Their view on trans women is that they're in the same category as men who do a little gender fuckery. Okay. This is really complicated. This is very complicated. And they're currently being dogpiled. So I don't want to add to it because, like, I promise you they're getting lots of death threats right now. But this is a topic where if you say anything confidently, people will get mad at you. Trust me, I know. You can take either position and people will get mad at you. So this is about trans women are not quote unquote male socialized. You can say either version of this, either definitive statement will lead to people getting mad at you. If you say trans women are male socialized, people are going to get mad at you. If you say they're not, people are going to get mad at you. There's enough variance in people's lived experiences and also in the definitions of these words that there will always be some group of people being mad at you. Very rarely do people take this as like personal statements about your life. They take it as general statements about the nature of transness, which I think has always been kind of a waste of time because, like, what is the fundamental distilled nature of blackness? Could you ever find two black people who would agree on everything it means to be black? I thought the whole point of the whole, I don't know, like third wave intersectional sociological perspective is the understanding that these are like very modular, socially variable, taxonomies that kind of fluctuate and don't refer to any specific objective reality. But then people get mad if you say that. So, you know. You get me. People are just mad? Yeah. Yeah, but there's like a correct version of this that goes, for sure. But it can be a little bit suffocating if you're talking about like your personal experiences, but everything always gets treated as a general statement about the community. So like you always have to hedge your bets with everything. Like, you know what I mean? So if a trans woman said, of course trans women are male socialized, she would get dogpiled, and like maybe deservedly, because that's a very broad statement. But if she said, I'm male socialized, she would still get dogpiled in a lot of cases, because people interpret that personal statement as a general reflection of, because it's like, well, you can't say that because that makes us all look bad. You know what I mean? And it means that people are going to get mad even about statements you're making about yourself, which means that everything has to be prefaced with a whole bunch of asterisks and conditional statements, and this is just my opinion, which is suffocating. And realistically, nobody's going to do that all the time. You might want to do it if you're making a fucking podcast on the subject, by the way. But like, people are not going to do that all the time for themselves. So it does make it pretty difficult to do the discourse, you know? No, you know what I'm talking about? Just think it's kind of interesting. Where is that one clip where they're talking about cross-dressing? That's the one I saw people get most mad about. That one got people... I look up cross-dressing on Twitter. What do I expect I'm going to see? Of course I see this. Can somebody find that clip? Yeah, that one was pretty bad. Well, the crazy thing is, like, it's bad, but it's not even like, if you interpreted it charitably, you would understand what's being said, and there might be problems with it, but like, there's just no room for that. I guess it's always like this with discourse, but I feel like it's going to get even more insufferable with time, because people tend to be more dogmatic online in response to how powerless they feel in real life. Like, the less control you have over your own environment, the more you want to enforce control over the doctrine of others, the more orthodox you want everyone else to be. So the more people feel despairing about their future and their life, they're like, well, at least I can go online and make sure that everyone's, you know, engaging in the behavior correctly here, you know? Oh my God, that thumbnail. All right. Charitably, as I'm trying to take all of this, this was a remarkably bad idea thumbnail-wise, especially because, and I apologize if I'm incorrect in this, but my understanding is that these two are non-binary, non-transitioning. I could be wrong on that, but that's my understanding. It's just a little bit ill-considered. Anyway, we'll watch the clip.
Happening in culture with public figures, language started to emerge that somewhat resembles what we have today.
Why is this the quietest clip that's ever existed? Why is there like a less...
The 18th century saw the concept of transvestism and transvestites, referring to individuals who cross-dressed. So there's starting to be a name for it.
Love it.
Because before it was kind of just like, I don't know. They just like to play dress up. So the Latin origins of the word, the term transvestism, emerged in the 18th century and has roots in the Latin language. So the term is a combination of trans, meaning across or beyond, and vestire, meaning to dress or to wear clothes. So it really was like cross-dressing.
Cross-dressing. Beyond. Go beyond. Into the beyond. But before we get into that, back to the episode.
So coined in the context of the 18th century, medical and scientific discourse, it initially referred to the practice of individuals, but typically men, dressing in clothing of the opposite gender. Because, of course,
men get
history
everything.
Favors men.
People got real mad at this one. Hold on. I think I found the original clip. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure this is the clip that originally got posted that's led to everyone chopping up this podcast and getting mad at it. And I should warn you, this is, you can kind of tell who's getting mad at this content from the original post, from Chunk Motor, whose bio says asymptotically approaching passoidom, Cissexual NBs realizing being the equivalent of a bricky trans woman will get you reflexively they'd like they just discovered Newtonian physics. So you can kind of envision the... Yeah, I know I covered this tweet before, but we're circling back. It's called circling back. I've looked at many sunsets. Vaush not explaining this great? That's incorrect, I'm afraid. You thought that I was in favor of like a pluralistic, multi-disciplined approach to this. I'm actually not. I have not said anything incorrect. I'm explaining it perfectly. Thank you. Anyway.
This whole narrative online that it's like there's no one way to look non-binary, and I agree with that.
No,
however, it seems like there is a way to look non-binary because Carbon is getting they them'd and neither of us are.
Yes.
So what the fuck is up?
Give me whatever's in your wardrobe that is making the magic happen. The bandana on the neck.
Is the misconception that it's like it is androgyny?
I think it's
I believe
that.
it is. For example, if you see somebody that has a masculine figure, they have a lot of body hair, maybe they have a little beard, but they have long hair, and they're wearing a
People got real fucking mad at this one.
dress. I think majority of people would be like
They them.
they them.
They walk into the room and then suddenly we're all doing a pronoun check.
It's like, it's... This is AI? Maybe. So the statement they're making is like, if you're obviously assigned male at birth, but you're dressing femininely, then it's like, oh, you're non-binary, which, as you can imagine, it's pretty funny. I hadn't watched it till now. It's a tough one to employ. Nobody in my chat is too employed to get all this podcast giving self-indulgent vibes. I feel like, in my opinion, I've just always felt like the subject is just not that interesting, I guess. Because the more you know about it, the more it just boils down to like, well, I guess, or that varies. You know what I mean? It'd be like, it's like level, like to go back to the racial analogies, like, well, discussing what it means to be black or whatever, where like, no matter what you're talking about, on the far end of that like bell curve in regards to the sophistication of the discussion, the correct final answer is, yeah, I don't know, man, I think it depends. Which is not like the only thing you can say about it, but it is the last thing you can say about it. So it feels like that's always where it's ending, you know? Me at the end of the discussion, thumbs up. I feel like people are going to get more dogmatic online over this over time, which is a little unfortunate. I don't really see why this is a discourse. Well, I mean, you can see what people in the comments are saying. Grim. Every gender non-conforming person wants to be a trans woman, except for trans women theory, again, confirmed. It's so sinister how they're describing trans misogyny as something fun and preferable without even knowing or caring what it is. TMEs claim they don't hate trans women, but then you ask them what's an acceptable trans woman to them, and it's exclusively this. You might notice a lot of these comments are like hallucinating the content of the podcast, but that's kind of my point. They're not really reacting to what was said. They're reacting to how they felt about what was said. What's TME? Another slur. It's another slur. Wait, is it? No, wait, I'm mixing it up with something else. It's trans misogyny exempt, which is kind of just saying you're not a trans woman. TME is not a slur. No, you're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking of something else. It does get used as a slur sometimes. I mean, no, that's okay. You can use it as one if you try. You can use anything as a slur if you try hard enough. I was thinking of Tim, not TME. I was thinking of Tim. That's true. Yeah. Was Dave Chappelle cooking with his take on how the LGBTQ community isn't one community, it's several in a car? Man, I feel like maybe it's like the older I get or whatever, the LGBT community is not several communities in a car. It's several 100 million people on a planet. We have to demolish the fascist obsession with uniform, distinct communities, or the liberal obsession with medical taxonomy, you know? You can find trans people whose experiences are totally out there, and ones that are basically just cis except for a couple of technicalities in terms of their personal experiences. It really varies. It's important to understand, like, general tendencies because it helps you understand. Like, I have known, well, I'll just refer in my head, I'm thinking of like one person in particular. I know a person who is a trans woman who is like not at all concerned with any metric whatsoever of passing or of like femininity or social conformation to that topic at all. This is a rarity. I know exactly this one person who is like this. It's impressive. This is certainly not like a broader trend, but I feel like if that person was to talk about their experiences in a broader sense, they would get like dogpiled by people like this, you know? Because these people's experiences are very, very different. At the end of the day, every person is got their own deal. I don't know what I'm talking about. We had to cap off the stream somehow talking about the end of the world. Good palate cleanser, ain't it? I don't know. I think it depends. I don't know. I think it depends. I don't know. I think it depends. I will say, though, I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a bad take. I do think some of the takes coming out of this podcast are pretty bad. She's like, I don't know. I think it depends, you know? I'm too straight to understand why people are getting pissy. Okay. The real reason is this, okay? Are you ready for it? This is like another grand unifying theory, okay? Everybody has a them that exists in their head, not like pronoun-wise, but like a person. They have a version of themselves that exists in their head, and their real existing self exists in contradiction to that imagined self. For some people, the difference between their real self and their imagined self is massive. For others, it's very, very small, and they live more or less in alignment with their self-perception. Everybody, however, wants to be treated like the person that exists in their head. They might not think they're ready to be treated that way. They might not think that it's time or that people necessarily need to, but they want it. Everybody wants that. Doesn't matter if you're trans, cis, gay, straight, whatever. It doesn't matter. And the tension here, the drama, the concern, the emotional baggage is that different people exist in different kinds of tension with that internal self, and people on some level are upset that you have not interpreted who their internal self is and responded in kind with it. You have not magically determined their internal self, which they might not even know the scope of, and acted and spoken as though you're speaking to that person. This is how everyone is on every level, and different people, there's a different divide, and they have different kinds of tension, and this is why people get upset. Everyone. It doesn't matter if you're trans or cis. It's all just different symptoms of the same duality there, the same like fundamental contradiction. So if you want to get good at interacting with people and making them happy and having fruitful relationships, you have to get good at trying to read past what people are and trying to understand how people self-recognize what they think of themselves as, and, you know, try to help them mitigate that. Don't just acknowledge who they are internally, but help them move closer in reality to who they are internally. That's the mark of a good friend. It's why good friends should argue sometimes. You don't want to just like be the one that pierces the veil. You want to be the one that helps bring the veil closer to the lived experience. Oh dear, I don't really know what I want to be seen as. That's fine. Most people don't. Most people just have like very general ideas. You can feel it from friends and allies. You know they're only being kind. You know that deep down they don't really see you as your chosen gender. Well, here's the problem, and I'm gonna maybe like target you a little bit directly because what you're saying isn't necessarily wrong, but I'm gonna blow you up for it anyway. You also might not see yourself that way. Because if you really did, you probably wouldn't be so quick to assume that other people's perceptions of you are duplicitous. Like you're reading in them a degree of self-doubt. Now, doubt is human. I'm not saying that self-doubt means there's any illegitimacy to your self-perception. What I'm saying is like your ability to accurately read how others are perceiving you is compromised by your own self-perception. So like this is everyone is subject to the biases of their own perspective. You know what I mean? Like there's no way to objectively know where anyone, including yourself, is in any of this. You're just trying your best, right? You work on it and you work on it and you get better at it, hopefully. And then one day you die, right? You never quite get there. No one ever has. No one's ever gotten there. You try. That's the point of living. You try your best. So I'm only saying, Sprinkled Fox, you're not wrong, but you might be more wrong than you think. Does that make sense? Are you in alignment with yourself? Me? I think I'm doing decently. There's always work that can be done. I think I do all right, you know? or like you're not objective. Well, no one is. No one is, you know? I think a really common like example of this is in the context of relationships where, and this is so common, one person will think something about their partner that their partner will deny about themselves, and it's like an irreconcilable gulf. You know what I mean? Like the girlfriend might be like, oh, I think I'm ugly, and then the boyfriend is like, no, you're beautiful, and the boyfriend really means it here. I mean, we're not talking, there's no level of like second order social duplicity taking place here. The boyfriend fully believes this, and so does the girlfriend, but the girlfriend might project insincerity onto the boyfriend. Many such cases. All of life is just a remix of this fundamental communication and introspection error, you know? Happens all the time. It's happened to you, it's happened because of you. It's happened to me, it's happened because of me. It's just a battle we all must fight. It is the cycle of samsara. That's true. That's true. How is this the fault of capitalism? I think we might have found a problem we all suffer from that's not actually rooted in capitalism. Capitalism will exploit this problem, but we might have found something more fundamental. Even a Wikipedia article? The self-discrepancy theory?